Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in. In this video, we plan to run through the member budget and work plan for the California Adult Education Program. So let me navigate to my member. I'm going to go into the CAEP menu item, click the Consortia and Members tab. And then if you scroll towards the bottom, you will see that I can click on the member agency and enter a space that we saw in other videos where it has all of my member-specific information. Or I can also navigate directly into my budget and work plan. Let's do this route just for the sake of this demo. So I click on Cabrillo CCD. I have my information, contacts. I see some budget and work plan history, supporting documents, and here I can navigate into my 18-19 budget and work plan, which is in draft status. So before we get started, I just want to mention that once the CFAD has been member approved, everybody's allocations are set from the consortium to each of the members. Should that change, so if there's an allocation amendment that takes place, and your member is impacted by that allocation amendment, either you got additional funds or you had funds taken away, your budget and work plan will automatically be put back into a draft status. That's done because the budget that you put together no longer ties to your available funds. You either lost money or gained money, and you need to do an update to the budget in this budget and work plan to be able to keep things tied out properly. So please keep that in mind. But in this, once we're into Cabrillo CCD's budget and work plan, this is the first step, and this is where I'm going to identify the strategies for our consortium that my member is going to try to address. So I'm just simply checking the boxes and identifying those which we plan to address. So you can click one or all, or anything in between, the minimum being one. And these strategies come directly from the annual plan. Okay, so once I've done that, selected at least one strategy to address, my workflow step goes to completed, and then I go to the next tab, which is the budget. I have done some pre-work here to populate this, but as you can see, we have some information at the top that's useful. My total available funds, what I have budgeted so far, remaining amount, and I can see what my direct costs, my indirect costs are, and anything that I've budgeted that I have identified as consortium fiscal or administrative expenses will roll up here, and I'll show you how that's done. So this is a typical NOVA budget card. I would provide a title, it's a required field. I would provide the expenditure type or the object code, which is required, a dollar amount, a description of what this dollar amount is for or what this expenditure is for. And here's where I can identify, is this budget card for consortium fiscal or administrative related expenses? I can check that box to identify this budget item as such. And then I can complete a forecast. So it looks like we're probably going to be doing some hiring here, hiring instructors. And in Q1 and Q2, likely we're going to be marketing the position, going through the interview process. So the expenditures are minimal or zero for the first couple of quarters. And then in Q3, we'll have some expenditures in Q4. So I want to put in a rate of expenditure that most accurately reflects what our anticipated expenditure rate is for this $22,000. Okay. So then I can continue to build out my budget. I can delete this card if I've made an error or just need to do away with it. I can duplicate this budget card. So if we have another one that's very similar, I can duplicate it and make updates to it. So I've got a pretty good budget built out here, but there are remaining expenses. So I'm going to click New Budget Item. I'm going to give it a title. Give it a brief description. Supplies and materials. I'm going to give that, I think it was 19,000, I believe is what we had available, something like that. And then expenditure rate. So we've got to buy some materials every single quarter. So this is going to be a pretty flat-lined expenditure. We're going to spend, it's anticipated we're going to spend the exact same amount in each quarter. So this is a cumulative forecast. Put that in. Let's see how I'm doing. I've got $882 that remain. So let me just make an adjustment to this last budget card. Okay, so you'll see once my budget is completely consumed, no dollars remain, the status will go to completed. And I can scroll up to the top just to confirm everything looks good. We have not identified any indirect costs. We have not budgeted any of those, but we did identify that $163,000 was for consortium fiscal or administrative expenses. So as long as everything looks good, I go to my preview. I have all of the same functionality where I can bookmark this for easy navigation. I can share it for others to review and give me feedback, or I can share it to myself if I want a saved PDF in my hard drive. But if everything looks good, I will click Submit. Add some comments. This is going to send an email to all of the contacts for my member. The next step will be to certify. So any member can work on the budget and work plan. Only the primary contact can certify it. So this is in a submitted read-only state. I would want to review, validate everything, make sure it's all in order. This is a nice consolidated view of everything that we've done with a couple of budget roll-ups. And if everything looks good, our member is going to self-certify. So the next step, click this button, and all is well. You'll now see that we're in a certified state. So thanks for watching. And as always, any issues in Nova, any questions on these videos, please just utilize the Nova Help Desk that's available at the bottom of your menu here. Thank you.